All right. So the breakthrough process, the pathway to your liberation, to your limitless leadership. I've been talking about this for a while, but this is so important. There's a lot of people who are feeling like they're standing still while pedaling really hard, right? Like doing so much in their business and things aren't moving. Where actually in the past they used to move, right? You were in the zone and things were just moving, and it would be like bam, 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 and it just, it was blossoming, and now you're doing more and more and more and getting the same result, right? Or less result. And there is this feeling of like pressure, feeling burdened, life feels heavy. And you're having conversations with yourselves like, is this really what it is? Is this my purpose? And you're still in the emotional roller coaster no matter how much mindset routines you do, right? And what we think typically make it mean is this: the tactics aren't working, live launch isn't working, retreats aren't working, my clients, this or that or the other, the market, it's 2021 or it's 2020 or whatever, or the stars are doing this and that or the other, and whoever is in retrograde, and my posts on IG aren't doing anything. It must be Instagram. Must move to a different platform. I must. There's something that I'm missing. I must go throw the next spaghetti on the wall. Right? Basically, we get frustrated because the life isn't doing what we want it to be doing, and then we make the coaches wrong and whatever, right? So that's the typical reaction. Now, what it really means is this: it's the need for the next level alignment to your soul. It's the call for truth. It's the call for integrity. And this is such a cliche, and everybody says it. It's the step into your true power, which really is it just sounds like, yes, everybody's saying it, and it means nothing to you until you've actually done that, right? And you will know. It means nothing until you have done that, and you're like, oh, wow, like how did I not know this? How did I not see this? How did I not see how blocked I was, right? So you guys know my story of building a business from 0 to 7 figures as a single mom, right? You probably heard it a few times. I'll spare you the details. Basically, crazy mess. $700 in my bank account, October 2020, October 2019. Then, I made some decisions, decided to blow things up and follow, some long-standing business principles, blow up my business. Now, this is where things get really interesting. When I hit 7 figures in my business, I hit a major wall. Everything I was doing all of a sudden stopped working. Nothing was working, or it was working at a snail pace. It was like going from an amazing business to like, oh my God, what's happening, right? And I felt horrible, like awful. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, carrying this heaviness on my shoulder, like having to, okay, it's like, what is happening? I have to provide for a team of people and alone for a toddler. And it just felt so like, oh my gosh, it just felt such a drag. And I felt like I was pushing. And as a business coach, I was starting to feel like I was a total fraud. Like, I'm teaching them how to do this stuff, uh, and can they even trust me when it's not even working for me right now, right? And so I did what I tend to do, and I threw more at it. Do more, make it more perfect, show up more, perfect the messaging, do more lead gen, post more content, spend more on Facebook ads, and look to different coaches for advice. Change a coach, listen to more podcasts. Someone's gonna have the answers, right? Right? Here's the lesson. Write this down. When something isn't working, doing more of it isn't going to make it align. I'll say this again. When something isn't working, doing more of it isn't going to make it align, right? Then eventually, after 3 failed launches, failed by my own standards anyway, they were still profitable, but by my own standards, completely exhausted. I was filled with anxiety and I was just questioning everything, right? I finally decided to stop the madness and open to the idea that my business was doing exactly what it needed to be doing. And it was time. I've made enough money the previous year. Up until then, it was time for me to realign. It was time for me to go deep. It was time for me to become who I truly was, right? And here is the thing. We did not come here to scale our businesses. Sometimes we get sidetracked with that. Especially when we see some success, we get really excited and then it runs away with us. The business that we're building is just a helpful tool for us to do what we came here to do. And what is that exactly? As cliche as it sounds, it's learning love and truth, right? So at that point, I embarked on a very, very intense transformational journey that I want to take you through in this episode that consists of 3 different things and 3 different stages. And that is exactly what we're going to be doing in the January 10th break free process, which is going to be a 7-day inner journey into this. So what are those things? Number 1 is the house of mirrors. That is probably the toughest one. It's looking ourselves in the mirror and asking some crazy, insane questions. Number 1, what am I concealing for myself? Where am I deceiving myself and others? You know, when we conceal a lot as entrepreneurs. You launching your business, you know, and there's this like concealment of like, yeah, I'm new. Like there's this fear. If I tell people I have no clients, what's going to happen? Right? Who am I to say I'm a business coach when I have no business coaching clients? So we just avoid the topic, but it's there, right? Because we're so in shame about, and we just avoid the conversation altogether. You're just terrified somebody's going to ask you for testimonials, right? It's exactly what happened to me, by the way, trying to get my first client, and she would ask for testimonials. Nobody ever asked since then, but it was because that fear was there. I was concealing something. I was concealing my newness to this, you know? Now, looking back, I'd be like, hey, you're going to be my beta client. This is why this price is a little bit lower. No problem, you know? Or maybe as you grow, you have unhappy clients and they tell you they're not happy and blah, 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 and take apart your program. And you're so terrified. If your other clients found out, what would happen? Would you lose everybody's respect and trust, right? Or you're coaching on relationships and your own relationship is full apart, or I don't know, you're coaching on business and your own business isn't doing great, or whatever it is, right? It's like you have to ask yourself, what is it that you are concealing? And the antidote is really starting to tell the truth to ourselves, because it really isn't that bad. Once we start opening our mouth and admitting like things are not all we have pretended them to be. You know, I've actually gotten a message from a client how much she appreciated, like, you know, me saying, hey, you know, like sharing about my struggles. And she's like, it's actually was the point that caused her transformation at last in the program, because somehow, you know, I just wasn't relatable. So it didn't click for her that we're one and the same and she could have the same results that I could, because, you know, I had this idea before that I had to show up a certain way. And when we stop concealing, when we become authentic, it can actually be really empowering to clients, right? Then you got to ask yourself, where am I blindly accepting the collective standards and what everybody's doing, right? Example, everybody's being on all social media. Do I need to do that? Do I really need to be on Instagram and Clubhouse and Twitter and TikTok and all that stuff, right? Everybody else is trying to present themselves as this version of themselves and personal branding and yada, yada, yada. Do I really need to be doing this? Do I even need a website? Is that the right thing for me? Right? Then people tell you, don't tell people the price before the sales call and da-da-da. But then you got to ask yourself, is that really true? Do I need to be doing this? Or do I trust people to make their own decisions, even if they know the price, right? Then do I need to have a year-long program, or 6 months the right thing for me at this point in my business? Or everybody's doing, you know, one-on-one coaching. Is that really right for me? Or do I shine better as a teacher in a group setting? Like, what is it that is true to me? And then you got to ask yourself, like, where am I buying into ideas about how I should show up as a person, right? A lot of people think that they should show up polished on camera, right? Like they know what they're doing, they're experienced, they show up a certain way, they look smooth. And actually, like I have found out, the more polished I sound, the less I convert on camera. The more just off the cuff I go and actually focus on connection and the energy in the room, and I let go of sounding a certain way, the better it is. Right? The idea that we have to look like we have it all together. Like, where's that coming from? Do you fear that if you look weak or if you look like a mess, people are going to feed into it and they're not going to respect you and they're not going to work with you? Right? Some won't, but the people who are right for you will. But yes, I know this is a little bit intellectual, but we know these things. Like, we know that we need to show up authentically, but the courage to go there and tell myself I'm willing to take the risk and I'm willing to be myself and I'm willing to just show up on camera without makeup, with just, sharing my true experience of what's going on and really, really authentic. Like, do I really want to take the chance? Because that doesn't seem to be what everybody else is doing. They must have figured this out, right? And then you start asking questions like, what's my MO? Who have I believed I need to be successful? And who has that made me? Maybe it's somebody who feels like she needs to work really, really hard to get anywhere, right? Maybe you have become somebody who never feels productive enough. Like, you always have to do enough to be good enough. Even a self-care routine turns into a checklist of to-dos, right? This is not something that is enjoyable anymore because you have to do gratitude, you have to do the intention, you have to do this, and you have to work out, and you have to do this, that, or the other. And it's like, even the space that is supposed to be nurturing to you turns into a productivity checklist, right? Maybe it's made you somebody who's willing to just get anybody into their program just to have enough clients, right? And that's okay too. By the way, all the things that I'm sharing is because I know them firsthand, because I've been through that, I've done that, all of it. Maybe you have become somebody who's chasing success at the expense of what they really, really want. It kind of ran away with them, right? Again, that was me, all of it. Somebody who's doing a lot of mindset, not in order to connect to the divine, but to just sort of be more productive and be more and do more, and it all comes to providing for your family or whatever it is, right? Or maybe that's made you become somebody who always wants to impress others and look successful. Somebody who doesn't save looking weak, right? That was me too. Always trying to get the approval, the acknowledgement, impress others. Like, look at me, I'm the single mom doing this and that. And it's like, but that puts you in jail. Maybe it's made you somebody who doesn't feel at ease no matter how much money is in the bank account, right? Somebody always never feels financially safe, no matter what happens. Like, I remember the days I moved to the US and I literally could not afford a second suitcase. I had $20, one suitcase, that was it. And I was perfectly happy and for whatever reason, always provided for. I was more connected to people. I was more willing to ask for help. It just all perfectly worked out, I'm sure there were days where I stressed a little bit about that, and my nutrition wasn't the best. I was eating the cheapest food or whatever, but like, I was happy. Like, those were happy days. And then all of a sudden I was making a good amount of money, and it was never enough. There was always this fear of, what if it runs out, right? So now, hopefully, maybe you resonated with some of those things, but it's at the end of 2021. And it's really important to take a look at these things with a ton of courage. It's time to purge that which doesn't belong so that you can move forward. As cheesy as it sounds, pure. It's purification. The second half of 2021, it's been so hard for so many people because you know, this world, this planet is forcing us to purify all the fear, all the pride, all the looking good, right? And it's bringing up stuff that we do not want to deal with, maybe stuff from our past and triggers from the past, and it can be really, really tough. And it's a process. It does not happen overnight. It's a negotiation. It's a navigation. It's like you're just kind of in it, you know? A lot of you guys are right now in it. You're dealing with this, and you're really like starting to slowly tell yourself like, wow, I have been not all that authentic in ways that you couldn't see before. You know, that the window just sort of there seems to be a window, bigger window into these things, into the subconscious, into our belief systems. And it's really beautiful. And sometimes it comes up through conflict. Conflict is not a bad thing. Triggers are not a bad thing. Whatever's going on in the world is not a bad thing. It is all to show you the window into what's always been there, right? So that's the first step in the process. That's the house of mirrors, right? So it is really looking yourself in the mirror and asking some really crazy questions, right? Where am I concealing? Where am I blindly accepting the collective? Where am I buying ideas of how I should show up? What's my MO? What do I believe that I need to do to be successful, right? So that's the first part. I'm going to turn it into a two-part podcast again. So stay tuned for the next one.